you'll see. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome to our Week 14 fantasy episode. I'm your host, Jim Sella, in studio with Jay Dash. We got our situational starters, sleepers, and deep sleepers. We got random questions from me, random comments from you, random fan questions. If there are any fan questions, do we have those this week?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not until we upload the segment, man.
See, you got to have the segment before you have the questions. The chicken and the egg syndrome.
There you go. Start with situational starters, though. Who you going with this week?
It was a tough choice. I think I'm going to go with Tyrod Taylor. Any quarterback going up against Philadelphia is a good play. They give up the third most to fantasy quarterbacks. Taylor's a double threat guy. He can throw the ball. He can run the ball. Him and Sammy Watkins have kind of found a groove the last couple weeks. He's finally getting the ball to his best receiver. Probably the best player on the offense outside of Shady McCoy. McCoy's running better. Taylor's dumping the ball off to him a little bit. That Buffalo offense has gotten healthier, I think, is the biggest thing. So they're all playing well, as far as fantasy. They're not winning a lot of games. They're probably not going to make the playoffs or anything.
They're right there in it.
I mean, yeah, but I think they're the one team that's going to find the trail off out of the Jets, Kansas City, Pittsburgh, and Houston the fastest.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean they're not going to get fantasy points at the same time. And Philadelphia, outside of this game against New England, which was a complete fluke. I'm not saying they didn't earn that victory, but it was a fluke that New England let that happen to them. So it's not going to happen again.
Yeah, Philly stinks, but that's the thing. You're saying the Bills, you think they're going to tail off? Well, there's 4 games left, and I'd think the Bills are going to beat Philadelphia. It might not happen, but if they do, then there's only 3 games left, and they're still in it. But you're right about the health. Look, Tyrod Taylor was hurt earlier this season. Sammy Watkins was hurt earlier this season. LaShawn McCoy was hurt earlier this season. They're all back healthy, and over the past 2 games, T-Mobile has showed it. Look, he played at Kansas City and versus Houston. 502 yards passing with 6 passing touchdowns. He also had 74 yards rushing and a touchdown on the ground as well. Like you said, a double threat. So against Philly this week, I know they did an okay job against New England last week, I guess you want to say. But how did Tom Brady do for you anyways? He still did all right, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I still won my game.
So there you go. But I know Tyrod Taylor isn't Tom Brady or anything. But I just don't trust Philly's defense at all. And this is the way Tyrod Taylor has been playing over the past 2 weeks. He's got more than 30 fantasy points in each of those games. I could see the same thing here this week.
He's Michael Vick, but he can actually throw with accuracy.
There's a lot of quarterbacks you could go with this week. Brian Hoyer versus New England. You could go with Alex Smith versus San Diego. That's who I chose in our waiver claim segment yesterday. You could go with Matt Hasselbeck versus Jacksonville, or you could go with Jameis Winston here versus New Orleans. They let up the most fantasy points to quarterbacks. He has 27 or more pass attempts in each of his last 7 games. He's improved over the season too. In week 4 versus Carolina, he had 4 interceptions. Now, since then, in 8 games, he had 4 interceptions in that time span as well. So you can see he's improving. He's still inconsistent, so you can't trust him week in and week out. But in this matchup, it's a great matchup, and I think he's going to play well.
New Orleans' defense is just terrible. Put me in back there 5 years ago, and I'd be throwing touchdown passes. I'm a little old and slow now, though.
I'm going to go with Anquan Bolden at Cleveland. They let up the 7th most fantasy points to wide receivers this season.
Bolden, dude.
He has double-digit fantasy points in 2 of his last 3 games. He has at least 5 receptions in all 3 of those games. And look, with Blaine Gabbert at quarterback, I know Blaine Gabbert isn't the best quarterback in the world.
Anybody's better than Kaepernick.
He is looking at Bolden all the time. Look, 24 targets in the last 2 games with Gabbert at quarterback. And now that he's going up against Cleveland, I see this as Gabbert's best matchup of the season, and he's going to be looking Bolden's way again, and I see Bolden coming up with a big game. I mean, he's been inconsistent this season too. It's kind of hard not to be when you're in San Francisco's offense, but the way he's getting targeted right now with Gabbert, there's no way. I mean, they got rid of everything out there. They have nothing else.
Yeah,
Their starting running backs hurt. I mean, Sean Drawn, he's running the ball well, but Vernon Davis, they traded away.
He can't stop.
So they really don't have anything else out there. Gabbert to Bolden all day.
That's it.
Another receiver you could look at is Allen Hurns going up against Indy this week.
Putting the Hurns on you.
They let up the 4th most fantasy points to wide receivers this season.
Yeah, we all seen what Pittsburgh's wide receivers did last week.
Yeah, exactly. And look what he did at Indy in week 4. 11 receptions on 15 targets, 116 yards, and a touchdown. He actually had an 8-game streak of double-digit fantasy points this season before scoring single digits in weeks 11 and 12. And he missed last week with a concussion, but he has 8 or more targets in 4 of his last 5 games. So Blake Bortles, you know he has Allen Robinson as his number 1 target out there. Julius Thomas has been playing well over the past 3 weeks, but Allen Hurn's been involved as well. And I like the offense that Jacksonville has out there. They don't score a ton of points, but they put up some good fantasy points at least.
I need Julius Thomas to put up points. That's what I need.
Are you playing him?
Maybe.
Maybe. You're not playing him. Sleepers.
Who do we got?
I don't know. Who you taking?
I took this guy just so you couldn't take him because I know you're madly in love with him and Bubby Hoyer. Austin Seferian-Jenkins, he's finally back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're going up against New Orleans. New Orleans gives up the most fantasy points to tight ends. Listen, if you have somebody involved in the passing game and they're going against New Orleans, they probably give up the most points to that position. They're absolutely terrible when the ball gets thrown and not just handed off. They're probably terrible at stopping the run, too. I just don't pay that much attention to those losers. But Jenkins was having a good year before he got hurt. The injury kind of slowed him down for a while. It took a little longer to come back than most people thought. We kept hearing reports, oh, he might practice this week, he's going to play, and we kept talking about him for a few weeks there, and then come game time, he wouldn't play. But now he's out there. Winston's playing well for a rookie quarterback, and they do have Vincent Jackson back, so that might take a little bit of the plays away from Seferian-Jenkins, but I mean, I think Tampa Bay is going to put up points in the passing game this week. Screw New Orleans, dude. I know I took them last week as my pick of the week, but
yeah, I like what Tampa Bay has going on out there as well. I was just telling you, the Duggernaut, the muscle hamster, has had a good season. Jameis Winston's played very well this season. Now they're getting their receiving core back healthy with Vincent Jackson coming back. Mike Evans is still out there, and Austin Seferian-Jenkins coming back here. All 3 of these guys are 6'5", so Jameis Winston has some huge targets out there.
Let me ask you this real quick. Any fantasy value for Terrell Pryor? There is a reasonable chance he plays this week for the Cleveland Browns and Johnny Manziel at quarterback.
Oh, where's he playing? Wide receiver?
Yeah, he's a wide receiver now.
No.
No?
Never did.
What
It's
if he comes up with a big
time,
play?
Man. Get out of here. It's playoff time. You can find something
What if you're
else.
in the losers bracket?
I mean, well, go ahead. For fun, if you like them, why not? Who cares? No one cares about the losers bracket.
The losers care.
I'm going to go with Theo Riddick at St. Louis. Now, St. Louis, they let up the 9th most fantasy points to running backs now. They started off as a pretty good defense. Lately, they have been getting torched by the pass and the run. And look, Theo Riddick, he leads all running backs in receptions, has 60 receptions this season, 534 yards and 3 touchdowns. He has 5 receptions in each of his last 3 games. And look at this, man. I went and looked at each game he played. When he plays within the division, he has a bad game. When he plays someone outside the division, he plays well. He averages 13.4 fantasy points in non-division games in PPR leagues. And this is a non-division game against a defense that is really struggling right now. So I think Theo Riddick is going to go out there and have a good game. And plus, I mean, Detroit, they picked it up over the past, 3 weeks now?
He's been interesting all year. He's probably been the top player in free agency, I guess you want to call it, waiver wire or whatever. And people who kept asking me if they needed running back help, what to do, I said, you go pick up Theo Riddick, and none of them ever did. So yeah. I don't understand. He put up some good points all year.
Yeah, people don't like guys that maybe get 4 carries in a game. It's tough to trust him, but this guy is used in the passing game. He's almost like a receiver. Look, he has 60 receptions through 12 games already. That's 5 per game.
Believe it.
So keep playing.
PPR.
Another running back you could look at is Spencer Ware versus San Diego. I know they have Charkandrick West back.
Where in the world did his carries go?
They're going up against San Diego, like I said, and they led up the 5th most fantasy points to running backs. They're a terrible defense. And look, Spencer Ware has 4 touchdowns over the last 3 weeks. He scored even with Charkandrick West back healthy last week. He remained involved. And look, the last time they played San Diego, at San Diego just a couple weeks ago, Spencer Ware had 96 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game. So I could see both West and Ware having solid games here. I don't expect either one to blow up, but I don't mind playing either one of them in a flex spot.
I'm not playing Charkandrick. He did his job for me when I needed him to, and now I don't need him no more. So get him out of there for me.
You should just drop him so I can pick him up. Oh, that's the other league.
The other league, fool.
All right. One other guy here, Tyler Lockett at Baltimore. We talked about this guy in our waiver claim segment as well. Baltimore lets up the 8th most fantasy points to wide receivers this season. He runs high percentage routes. Look, he had 15 targets over the last 3 games, but he caught 14 of those balls. He has 176 yards and 2 touchdowns in that span. He actually has double digits in all 3 games as well in leagues that count return yards. But if not, I mean, look, last week at Minnesota, a pretty good defense, 7 catches, 90 yards, so he got it done just in the passing game last week, and now going up against a bad pass defense, I don't see no reason why he can't have another good game, along with Doug Baldwin out there, Russell Wilson playing very well, Thomas Rawls running the ball great. Seattle's offense is on a roll right now.
Seattle's done it big, 30 points against Pittsburgh, or 39 points against Pittsburgh, and then mad points against, Minnesota last week, who actually have a good defense. Russell Wilson. I hate that dude.
All right, let's move on to deep sleepers then. Since we know you're garbage, is your pick going to be garbage? Who's your guy?
I'm going to go with Cecil Eat My Shorts for the Houston Texans going up against New England. They give up the 16th most points to fantasy wide receivers. I'm not going to panic. I'm not saying the Patriots are turning into the Browns and they're complete garbage, but they've lost their last 2 games. All these injuries on offense are hurting the defense as well because the offense isn't able to perform at the level it usually is. Their defense isn't the greatest defense. They're middle of the pack, so they get the job done when they have such a good offense. But Brady's not, I mean, he personally isn't struggling, but the offense as a whole, with no Gronkowski, no Edelman, Amendola was missing time. Their running game is non-existent. I mean, they might get a spark one week here or there. But I just feel like Houston's going to be able to take advantage of it. I think it's going to be a close game and a high-scoring game. And, I mean, Shorts might get a touchdown or 2. Screw their defense. Who do they got in their backfield?
Well, look.
Cordy.
Here's the one thing about New England's defense. They stop the run very well. So I think Houston's going to be passing a lot in this game. And let's not forget my boy, Bobby Hoyer. He's back. He's healthy now. He's playing well. Cecil Shorts actually missed some time this season as well, but he's back fully healthy. So really, they haven't been together very long, both healthy. And it's paid dividends. Look, 3 straight double-digit fantasy performances from Shorts. His points came in an odd fashion, though. You remember he had a rushing TD and a passing touchdown as well. But look, last week he did have 10 targets from Hoyer, 6 receptions, 91 yards at Buffalo. And they put up some points. Would they have 30 points last week? I think they're going to be passing again. And Cecil Shorts, I like what he brings to the table.
I got a new nickname. It's not Cecil Eat My Shorts anymore.
What is it?
It's Cecil Who Wears Short Shorts.
Who wears short shorts?
Remember that?
Yes, I do remember that.
All right. As long as somebody else does.
Another receiver you could look at.
Kenny Stills.
Yes, Kenny Stills versus the infamous New York Giants defense.
They're so good. Have you been watching them play this year? They have given up 10 fourth quarter leads. 10 fourth quarter leads.
Look, they let up the 6th most fantasy points to wide receivers this season.
Giants.
Kenny Stills, he's really a hit-or-miss guy. He had no receptions last week, just 1 target versus Baltimore, another bad defense. But look, in Week 12, he had 10 targets, and he scored a touchdown in Week 11. Both of his TDs this season came at home. This is obviously a home game. Rashard Matthews is hurt. Devontae Parker has stepped up in Matthews' absence, but Devontae Parker's just a rookie too. So if he makes a couple mistakes, you're going to look Kenny Stills' way a little bit more in this game. And I think all these receivers can have a good game versus the Giants defense anyways. The Giants get torched in the passing game.
Believe it. Now, did Miami win by getting rid of Mike Wallace and bringing in Kenny Stills? Because I know Stills didn't do a whole lot, but neither did Wallace, and he cost a lot more than Stills does.
Yeah, I would say I'd be happy with Stills because Rashard Matthews came up as a better receiver this season, and Jarvis Landry, I think people knew that he was going to be a beast, and he is a beast. But they drafted Devontae Parker as well, so they still had a lot of receivers out there. So I'd rather take the downgrade in Kenny Stills with the downgrade in money rather than have a beat-ass Mike Wallace.
Dude's garbage. He's going to Arizona next year, I hear.
Go ahead. For what? That'd be ridiculous.
What do you mean? He loves Bruce Arians. That's where he had his most productive time.
They don't want him out there.
Arians said he loves him. Said he's the hardest working guy he's ever seen in practice. He's your uncle. You should know these things.
All right, I'm going to go with Blau Powell versus Tennessee. Now, look, they let up the second fewest fantasy points to running backs this season. But I see that as it may be tough to run for Ivory, and he may not be able to find much room, and then they're going to turn to Bilal Powell in the passing game, because let's not forget, we were talking about it yesterday. Fitzpatrick passes the ball a ton this season. You expect 35 pass attempts from him in each game moving forward. I mean, it's just how it's been for the New York Jets this season. And you look, Bilal Powell, 15 receptions over the last 3 games. He scored a touchdown on that span, has 165 yards as well. And that's just in the 3 games since returning from injury. He actually missed some time with an injury. Last week, granted, it was against the New York Giants, but he had 8 receptions for 91 yards and a touchdown. I think they're going to have to pass in this game, and either way, they pass a ton every game, even if they do run the ball. So, Bilal Powell, he's getting more and more involved each week. I like him. I think he's available in about 90% of the leagues, man. You don't like him?
Nah, I was never a big fan. I know he's going to put up some points in the passing game.
I always like guys that do it big in the passing game, man.
I just don't really like his name.
How can you not like his name?
Blah!
Blah, pow. Kidding me?
What about Dez Bryant for the Cowboys? They're going up against Green Bay this week.
If you have something better, I would definitely do it. And by something better, I don't mean a better player. There's a lot better options than
I
Dez
got
Bryant this
Watkins,
week.
Julio Jones, Jeremy Maclin, and Brandon Marshall in.
Oh, yeah, I would play all those guys over him.
What about Brandon LaFell? It looks like he's falling off.
He's falling off. I expect him to have his big games moving forward, but now I'm sitting him behind all those other guys.
Woodhead versus KC.
I like Woodhead versus KC. They're bad against the pass, not the run, and he's used more in the passing game.
I'm just scared because San Diego's so bad.
Yeah, what else do you have at running back?
McCoy, Rawls.
I mean, there's 2 right there
West.
that you have to play over Woodhead. West, I don't know. That's a close one there. I might go with... Well, no, I'd probably stick with West there, too.
Yeah, I just left McCoy and Rawls in because I'm stacked at wide receiver, and we got double flex.
Got to go with McCoy and Rawls in that situation. I know Rawls has a tough matchup this week, but he's run the ball well in tough matchups over the past 2 weeks.
Should I sit Todd Gurley?
Yes, if you can. If you have someone decent.
I have Fitz, McCoy, Forte, Peterson, Maclin, and Marshall in.
Fitz, McCoy, Peterson, and who?
Forte, and Maclin, and Marshall.
Yeah, I think I'd play all of them over Todd Gurley, because Todd Gurley, I mean, they're just stacking the box, man. Now they got Case Keenum at quarterback. They have no passing game. You could put 11 people in the box and they still couldn't pass.
I got Rawls on the bench. Rawls or Forte?
I don't know. Forte is still one of the dynamic running backs in the league. I think I'd go with Forte in that situation, man. He's done it in years past. Thomas Rawls, I know he looks great over the past couple weeks, and I do trust him. But Forte, I mean, you can't trust anyone more than you can trust Forte.
The biggest question is Wilson or Big Ben?
Wow, that's a tough one. The way Russell Wilson has been playing, you'd think you'd want to lean towards him, I'd say, especially going up against a bad defense like Baltimore. But Big Ben's an elite quarterback, man. You got to go with Big Ben. I know it's Cincinnati, but Big Ben plays great in Cincinnati.
Ben had 47 last week. Wilson had 42.
Yeah. Both huge weeks. I don't think you can go wrong with either one, man, but I'm sticking with Big Ben. I know the last time the Steelers went out and played Cincinnati, Big Ben had, 3 interceptions in that game?
First game back from injury, though.
Yes, exactly. And again, Cincinnati's like a second home to the Steelers, and he always plays well there. So I'm going with Big Ben in that situation.
My bench last week had Rawls, Wilson, Maclin, and Barnage. That's a pretty beast bench.
Yes. Any other questions, man? What else you got?
Those are all my fantasy questions. I'm going to pummel my opponents this week.
You think so, man, but it usually ends up the 6 seeds move on.
No, will not happen. I will win.
Good luck to you, but it seems that way to me. Like, so many times I see 6 seed in the championship or a 5 seed.
It's going to be a 3 seed prevailing in both leagues this year. 3's the way to be. That's the slogan. Any random guys you want to throw in there?
Yeah, I want to say CJ Spiller. Go pick him up if he's out there, because Mark Ingram, he has a shoulder injury. There's speculation he could be done for the season. What else do they have out there? Tim Hightower, I think, is the second guy behind Spiller. So, I mean, Mark Ingram was a beast when he was in. CJ Spiller isn't going to be as good as Mark Ingram, but I still go out there and pick him up, because you know the Saints offense can do it big at times, and if Spiller's the starting running back, whatever he gets in the ground, that's fine, but he's going to be used more in the passing game too, because Ingram was taking passes away from Spiller all season long.
Eddie B, if you're listening, tough luck in fantasy this year, but thanks for joining the spread team.
Yeah, that was his first season doing fantasy, he said, man. Not terrible.
No.
Had a decent season.
Any fans who want to join our spread league, just look for it next year. We'll be throwing out the email.
You can only get 10 teams in it there, or 12, or whatever.
Or 16.
If you want to do the 16 team
We're doing 32. Everybody's just picking one team.
I always wanted to do that. You just take like a backfield. I get the Steelers backfield. You know what I mean?
Why do you get them?
Well, I'm just saying in a draft.
Oh, I thought you were saying automatically you just get them.
I don't get the Steelers
That's
backfield.
All right, fans. Any questions, comments you have for us, hit us up on Twitter, bet_the_spread. Hit me up on Twitter at bet_the_spread. Hit me up on Twitter at betjimthewin. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/betthespread. Keep coming back to YouTube and click and subscribe. We either have 211 or 212. YouTube just keeps messing with us.